All right, we're live. We're, we're waiting on some folks to get in here. So I guess we can. Oh, we got one, and then there was one.
Nice.
Well, we'll kick it off. What's up, everybody? We're back again, live for another episode of the Think Music Podcast. This is episode number 12. I'm sure y'all noticed we took a little hiatus last week. And you can charge that to your man here because I'm getting a little long in the tooth. And I told Dap, I called Dap up. I said, brother, I ain't got it tonight. I'm laying it down, man. And this is like, what was it, like 8:30, 9 o'clock?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
You get real lame as you get old, man. When you coming up, you don't get to the club. You supposed to when you get to the club, you're supposed to make an entrance. You know,
Right.
midnight at the earliest is when you arrive. Everybody's already been kind of sipping. You know, you got your fit on. You come in looking. That that pan the room look.
Yep.
Right.
Where the bar at? Oh, I don't even see y'all. Where the bar? And you, but you want to see who's seeing you. Well, that shit is over with.
Yep.
10 o'clock. I'm ready to.
Night for he.
Come on, man.
Bro,
But
listen, I know that life. I'm just like, listen, today it was the same thing. I ate something and was watching the news, eating. News kicked, sleepiness kicked right in.
right.
Right back. Because I know I wanted to come live. I know I wanted to do a live. I fell asleep, man, and my mom hit me up, and my sleep went. I just wind up getting up, and that was it. It's like, well, let me do this live. My brother called me, my dad called. It was just like, and like soon as I had everything prepped to go live, my dad and my brother called me, then my dad called me, then I merged them in on a call, and we talked for like 30 minutes. So it was like, I'm looking at the time, I'm like, and then and my pops had to go to work. He has to work at 10. And I told my bro, like, listen, I'm about to hop on this live and try to do something real quick, get with me. So, we'll link up tomorrow. But yeah, man, that sleep, bro, it come when it come. You gotta go.
It's
Straight out.
real. It's real. Well, as you all know, I go by multiple names. Tonight I got the Gnosis up here because I ain't on my game. As far as our rap group, I go by the name The Word. But
Hey.
got my man Dap Dunlap, the ones wizard of the ones and twos.
Appreciate it.
And as you can see, we on our Brady Bunch tonight. We got 3 screens up. Special guest tonight, good brother who's down here in Texas with me, brother Marcus, and we're gonna give y'all some little bit of game tonight, and hopefully it'll be edifying for y'all. So tonight's topic is the money game. Simple. Whoa. Let me back up. My bad. Let me acknowledge the chat. Peace to Nene. Peace to Serious Biz. Peace to Yoel.
Peace.
And whomever else may be out there in voyeur mode watching. Thank y'all for tuning in. So y'all ready to go on and get on into this?
Peace. Yes, sir. Lance, peace.
Hold on.
A couple more trickling in.
Yeah, Worthy Maiden, Lance, what's happening?
Oh, Maiden. I said this whole name wrong. My bad, brother. Lance,
Well,
what's up?
can't make it in this world without no money, right?
Not at all.
It's a fact.
It's a rough road. Well, tonight, as we discuss money, you all who are familiar with the podcast, you know we like to take um, try to give a well-rounded approach to the topics we discuss. So I think we're gonna take a unique approach to money in that excuse me, you'll find a lot of podcasts and presentations and webinars and seminars on money from the standpoint of how can I get some? You know,
Mm-hmm.
you watching your favorite video and the guy's about to say something. He about to go into the meat and potatoes of the video. And let me tell y'all something. This is what it all boils down. Hi, my name's Steven. You know, commercial cuts in. And if you just give me 30 seconds of your time, I'm going to show you how I helped 300 people make $300 billion just last week. I'm going to have this free training and blah, you know, we're all familiar with that.
Right.
You know, but this is the Think Music Podcast, and we like to encourage the firing of synapses in the brain by taking a different approach. So we want to try to tackle this thing in about, 2 hours, tackle this thing from an astrological perspective, metaphysical, and practical perspective dealing with money. And we know this is such a broad topic.
Mm-hmm.
Peace, Brianna.
Peace,
Wifey on here, Dap.
Yes, sir. Peace, honey. And my son and my nephew who's with her.
King Niaz is in the house.
Yes.
Nephew.
Yeah, my nephew Cashton. He calls me uncle when he says, "Hey, uncle." He's funny. That's my little guy. I got a question. Should we tap into the history of money?
Well, I was hoping, yeah. Well, what I wanted to start with was to do a brief etymology breakdown of money.
Yes, let's do that. Yes,
and then let's go into a brief history of money.
Okay,
I'm gonna swing the baton to you on that.
Yeah, I got something pulled up.
Okay, bet. Okay, so this book here, y'all know I love etymology. You've seen my favorite red book that's torn up, but here's my other one, my other go-to is Origins. A short etymological dictionary of modern English. Now, what's funny is the moment you go look up money in here, it says go to mind, paragraph 23. So right now, it tells you right now, in essence, what money is. Money is mental because it directs you to the word mind. And it's such a vast breakdown that just to get to the part that deals with money, you're in the 23rd paragraph.
Ooh.
And it's from the Latin moneda, cash, becomes Old French, monnaie, Middle English, monnaie. Then it becomes the English money. But again, this all starts from the word mind. Okay? Now, and the word mind has two key consonants in it, M and N, mun. Now, M and N are the same two primary consonants in the word moon. And we know astrologically, the moon is associated with the fourth house, okay? The fourth house is also associated physiologically with the breast. The breast is where the newborn baby suckles and receives nourishment. So the moon is associated with providing nourishment. So we can see symbolically how that MN consonant root could then go on to coincide with the mind, because the mind is nourished and the mind provides nourishment, and then how it could go even further to represent money, because money as in our currency of exchange in our world is a means of nourishment,
Yes.
right?
Right.
It's a resource. So I just wanted to lay that out first as just our opening volley as we approach this from an etymological standpoint, that it's not cliche when we say money is a state of mind. All right, brother.
Okay. That was a great breakdown. We get into the history of money. I put this up on Wikipedia, so we know you can take that with a grain of salt, most say. But we'll see what they say. And it says the history of money concerns the development of social and economic systems that provide at least one of the functions of money. Such systems can be understood as means of trading wealth indirectly, not directly, as with barter. Money is the mechanism that facilitates this process. Money may take a physical form, as in coins and notes, or may exist as a written or electronic account. It may have intrinsic value, commodity money, be legally exchangeable for something with intrinsic value, representative money, or have a nominal value, fiat money. I was on that fiat train
Hmm.
some time ago. It says the invention of money took place before the beginning of written history. Consequently, any story of how money first developed is mostly based on conjecture and logical inference. The significant evidence established many things were bartered in ancient markets that could be described as a medium of exchange. These included livestock and grains, things directly useful in themselves, but also merely attractive items such as cowrie shells and cowrie shells and beads were exchanged for more useful commodities. However, such exchanges would be better described as barter. In the common bartering of a particular commodity, especially when the commodity items are not fungible, does not technically make the commodity money or a commodity money, like a shekel, which was both a coin representing the specific weight of barley and the weight of that sack of barley. It says, due to complexities of ancient history, ancient civilizations developing at different paces and not keeping accurate records or having their records destroyed, and because the ancient origins of economic systems proceed with written history, it is possible to trace the true. It is impossible to trace the true origins of the invention of money and the transition from barter systems to the monetary systems. Further evidence in the history supports the idea that money has taken two main forms, divided into the broad categories of money of account, debts, credits, and ledgers, and money of exchange, tangible media or of exchange made from clay, leather, paper, bamboo, and metal, and etc. So that's just a quick basis on the beginning of money, and I'll volley it over to Marcus on your thoughts.
Well,
Yeah, I think
before we
that. Go ahead.
hold on,
Right on.
before we volley, me introduce let me introduce Marcus to the people,
Oh, okay.
and let me say why I'm doing this. As I told him, or as we all discussed before we got on here, we don't have a flashy name for Marcus like um, the money mogul, Marcus the magic money generator or anything like that to draw you in with clickbait. But we do have a real person who's sitting in a real home. He's not walking around posing in in front of somebody's house and standing in front of their car so he'll look like he doing it. He's relaxed in his home. He ain't looking over his shoulder. See if the police coming, run them off. We got a real human being. So, little bio. Marcus is 37. He has a degree in business administration from Southern Cal, and he is an engineer for Spectrum. And so we're not saying this to be braggadocious, just letting you know this is an accomplished person that we're bringing before you because we respect our audience and the intelligence level of the people who rock with us. So without further ado, Marcus, what is money to you, good brother?
Oh man, first, Dab, Jamal, hey, glad to be with you guys. To me, and this took me some time to figure it out for myself, but everyone always said, money is the root of all evil. Well, as I've gotten older, married, 2 kids, I've grown to know that money is a vehicle to allow me certain things for me and the family. I'm not addicted to money. I do look for different revenue streams in terms of investing, in terms of how to make other people money work for myself. Only because as I was in college and as I've grown through the corporate workplace, I've seen how others have done it, and a few mentors helped me along the way. So for me, I use money as a vehicle for comfort, for to make sure that my family doesn't want for anything. The way you guys broke it down, take it to a whole different level, right? Tying it back to nourishment and tying it back to the origins and where it originated from. People legitimately go crazy over money, right? And when we as a people start understanding the value of the dollar, that's when I believe our net worth will skyrocket and continue to rise, because we're no longer just buying frivolous things. And I'm guilty of that 100%. So I'm still working on myself, trying to break myself from buying things that I truly don't need.
Mm. Well, I want to say this, full disclosure. When I first met Marcus, well, we met through our barber. Okay. First time I met Marcus was maybe around, I don't know, 2016, 2017, maybe
Right.
2017.
I think it was 2017.
So let me tell you where I was mentally at that time. I was in my the world needs to end bag. No, let me be more specific. It was I'm trying to figure out how to collapse the world. I was on my I was really in my Bobby Hemmett bag, you know, um, because and from the standpoint of just how hideous certain factions are that control the world, and that they are so hideous and so beyond what they call it when you go to prison, rehabilitation. They are beyond being rehabilitated. So the only solution is destruction. That was my mindset. Now, mind you, though, at the time, I already got 2 children from my first marriage, and my wife is pregnant with my son. So I run into Marcus at the barbershop. Some kind of way he gets to talking about money. I don't know how it came up. And my first thing is like, bro, that it's all fiat. The money's all fake, and it's a tool for control. And I wasn't trying to hear none of that shit about getting your credit and and maneuvering with money and none of that. And a lot of times life beats you down so much it can jade. What am I trying to say? It can jade your whole it can paralyze your common sense. You know what I'm saying? That you're in a barbershop where you're having to exchange currency to get a service done. What do you mean? You exchanging currency right now. So thankfully, and I know I'm not sorry to be long-winded. I'm gonna wrap this. I run back into Marcus this year, and this is a different version of Jamal. It's like I'm working to regain myself. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, bro, I gotta apologize because the first time he probably don't even remember. Like the first time I ran here, I wasn't trying to hear none of that shit you was talking about. And it's like, and he younger than me. He's 7 years younger than me. But he got game. So here we are now. So Marcus just gave us a breakdown, basically what money is to him. Do you mind sharing with the people about while you're in college, you're working at, was it Wells Fargo? You're working at a bank.
Yep.
And this guy keeps coming in cashing these dividend checks.
Right. So, I was working at Bank of America at the time as a fraud analyst, right? So, what we would do is take a look at some of the higher profile clients, whether they come into the bank or whether they are depositing checks, writing checks. Well, there's one gentleman I spoke with. He had written, we call them balance transfer checks, right? So, what a balance transfer check is, it's a check that your credit card company will send you. It'll give you, maybe 0% interest for a year or 16 months. You pay a little fee and you put the money on your credit card, right? You can cash the check just like cash. Well, this particular gentleman, came in and wrote 4 checks. One was for 100,000, one was for 75,000, and another one was for 20, and I think it was 10. Right? They were all over the place, and it was based on all of his credit cards. He had received these offers, and so he wrote the checks. He decided to put them instantly into a CD, right? And I was like, so why are you putting the funds into a CD? And he took the time to explain to me how he didn't need the money. What he was doing was because the bank was actually betting on him to default on missing a payment, they were willing to give him as much money as they could to splurge, right? So they were pretty much trying to put him in debt. He figured out a way, along with others, that I can make the money work for myself. So if I write the check, I pay a 2% fee. And, as long as I'm able to make the minimum payments, I can set my CD to expire a month before, the 0% interest rate is complete. Once the 0% interest rate is done, I can pay off the balance, and there's no other fees aside from a 3%, 2% fee. So you're actually making, depending on what percentage your CD is at, you're actually making money just off interest, and all you're doing is paying the minimum payment. So
Real
that
quick, real sorry to interrupt you. For the people, can we tell them what a CD is?
Yeah, so a CD is a certificate of deposit, right? So what you
Okay.
do is you take money, $1,000, $500, you put it in to an account, and you tell the bank, hold this for 6 months or a year or 2 years, however long you want to hold it. The banks will then come back and say, I'll hold the money for you. Um, but in turn will give you interest for us holding the money. Now, if you break the CD for any type of reason, you're going to pay a penalty, right? So the trick is you get the money, you let it sit, and you gain the interest. The way the banks get you is that if there's any type of need to ever come up, an emergency where you need to take the funds out, that's when they hit you with those ridiculous fees on the CD itself for breaking it.
Oh, so that's why he was like, "Oh, this is free money because I got money, so I'm gonna put that in there. Y'all think I'm gonna get it out? I'm not, and then I'm gonna cash it out before I got you."
Right, exactly. And as soon as that 0% interest is up, if he is an out, or if you're an outstanding customer, your credit is good, they're going to send you another. They're going to send you another. And so, as long as you can make the minimum payment, if you have discipline to sit the money aside into a CD and forget about it, and just pay $200-300 a month on on the payment itself, as soon as your 0% is about to end, you pay it off, and there's no harm, no foul, right? And this particular gentleman, he's still my mentor to this day. Um, taught me the game, right? So he asked me some personal questions, what my credit score was, and at the time, my credit was horrible. I was a struggling college student, right? Trying to help my mom take care of my brother, trying to figure out life myself. I didn't really understand the value of money. I didn't understand the value of making payments on time. I didn't understand any of those things, right? Um, so this guy took me under his wing and actually taught me, and forced me to read some books, and um, to really understand and help myself get out of debt. And so that was the first step. Um, and then along came, once your credit has gotten better, then you can have a $5,000 credit limit, and you then continue to grow from that point. And so that's how it all started for myself. And once my largest credit limit at the time was about $15,000. Once I actually did it, and I said, okay, I can make $150 payment a month. That's no big deal. Um, Once I actually gained, you know, $800-900 off that initial investment, I was off to the races, because I literally was like, oh yeah, for all my troubles of just making these payments, here's my reward. And although it was real small at the time, to a college student, just getting $600-700 was love, right? So I was over the moon. I was excited. And so from there, I continued on, and just came up with different ways on how I can manipulate the system. And to me, that's one of the most foolproof ways. I mean, I'm sure you all have received, if you have credit cards, you've received those checks in the mail. Sometimes you'll receive credit card offers, right? Where, well, they'll, Discover or send you some, American Express, hey, open up this new account, transfer your balance over at 0% interest, and to have that for a year and a half. Well, those things to me are extremely important, because if you're trying to get out of debt, if you're trying to build another revenue stream, you can really take advantage of those things right off the bat, right? So if you have okay credit, um, you receive one of those 0% interest rate credit cards, take advantage of it, right? Open it up, see what your credit limit is, figure out a way to actually tackle some of the debt that you actually have, right? So I tell people all the time, I was, before I met my wife, I was um, doing okay, but she really, without even saying anything, just her actions on how she cared for money and how she actually understood the value of a dollar really, skyrocketed my heightened sense of just wanting to provide more, right? So I started reading. I started figuring out different ways of how older people are investing, smarter people are investing, the stock market, how that works, and it really just took off from there.
Do you have any book to recommend? Oh, did it freeze up?
Oh, I'm still here. Can you hear me,
Yeah, I
Mark?
can. Yeah, you going? Yeah, like his end.
Oh, he might have. He's buffering. Okay.
You there, Marcus?
I'm sorry. Yep, sorry about that. I think it's my internet connection. It just froze on me.
Oh, okay. I was saying, do you have any? You just mentioned books. Do you have any books that you recommend?
Oh yeah, man. One is How to Get Out of Debt. Um, that book is by, good Lord, let me see if I can see it. I sent that over to you. Hang on,
Yeah, I remember that one.
let me let me actually take a look at it. I haven't read that book in some years. Give me a sec. Let me see what that is. By Herring Freeman. That book really helped me get out of debt, and that's the first step, right? Is getting out of debt and staying out of debt, not putting yourself back into, um, back into. Uh, I don't want to. I hate to use the word debt, right? I mean, buying unnecessary things, right? Creating unnecessary stress on your life. And once I got out of debt, that was, my life I felt so much more freedom, right? To be able to just not have to worry about paying certain bills for things that I'm not even using. I had friends call me label whores because I, wanted all the best shoes and the best clothes and also the crap that really didn't mean anything in the
Mm.
grand scheme of things. Um, and half the time I wasn't even wearing them, right? So um, that book I think is a start, is figuring out, hey, I'm in debt. How do I get out of debt? And if you need to get a coach, if you need to seek some help, that is probably the best investment that you can make within yourself, is paying someone to actually, an outsider, right? A third party who is not tied to you in any type of way, paying them to actually help you and strategize and come up with a plan of how to get out of debt, and take it to heart, execute it, and you'll be amazed at what we can do once we put our minds to it, man.
If I could, I would like to piggyback on something you said, because it's very interesting that a lot, and I'm just going to speak for in our community, um, we don't have that financial teacher around us most of the time.
Mm-mm.
And it was like my mom, when my mom got herself on track, she told me something. I was like, "Mom, how you pay your bills?" Because, like, at the time, I lived with my mom for a long time, and I was just asking her, like, how do you structure your bill payments and have money for groceries and gas, and once she got her car, gas and bill, like how, and she was telling me, like, when I get paid with this check, I do such and such. When I get this check, I do such and such. Then I put the rest aside. You know what I'm saying? And that's how she built her nest egg up.
Yep.
So now, mind you, she telling me this. I'm coming off of not working. I just got a good concrete job at the time, and I needed to get my fashion up, right? Like I need to, I'm
Right.
outside, like I'm outside, B. Like I hear that, like I'm like, cool, I hear that, and it always stuck into the back of my mind. But I need to get my fashion up. I'm 20, I'm 20, 21, somewhere out there, Drake's walking around. Like I got it. Jay-Z had a Jay where he was like, my shoes wasn't matching my gears. Like I had to pull it all together. The only thing I was consistent with was a haircut. I had to get the fits right. So
Right.
I remember getting my first credit card. And so what I didn't know is when you turn 18, 19, 20, you start getting all these credit card offers.
Right.
And you get approved. You don't have no credit, but they give
Right.
you. See, I didn't understand that debt was good credit. You know what I mean?
Right.
I didn't
Right.
understand that until later. But what they do to get you on the Ferris wheel, they give it to you in the beginning, like, because you don't have like it's all like. In hindsight, I'm like, yo, you won't give me credit because I don't have debt, but in the beginning I don't have debt, but you're giving me credit. So it's like a weird thing. So anyway, I got a Bonton card. I was living in Pennsylvania, so Bonton is like big in Pennsylvania. I had a Bonton card. I got approved for that. I had a credit. I know I had these two for sure: a Bonton card and a credit card. And now, mind you, the job I had, I wasn't full time, right? I was like what they would call permanent part time. But I liked the job. I thought I had some potential. I was working at a newspaper company in my town, and so I get the credit cards, and first thing, the Bonton is a department store. So I went to the Nautica section. Boom, couple shirts, you know what I mean? Couple outfits. I got it. I'm trying to get right. So I'm looking at the payment stub like, oh, $35 a month to pay this stuff back off. Like, I'm good money. Like, I could do that. I can afford that. Even though I'm at this part-time job, I'm still staying with my mom's. So I'm like, I can afford that. Made the first few payments too. Boom, a credit card comes into play. I get the credit card. My credit card limit was $600, right?
Right.
I remember getting the credit card and just like, okay, I know with credit, you got to pay stuff back. Like, cool. So I get it. And then I found out that you can get money off of them, but I think the interest on it was a little different if you take money off the card.
30%. Yep.
Right. So they can boost your joint up. But mind you, I'm 21. I'm like, bro, I need to go get some smoke. We about to make a move. I need something cold.
Right.
I went to the ATM, hit that thing, and bro, like, I was just like, wow. And then it just went all to nothing after that. Like, I was making payments, and then for whatever reason, I was like, I need the little money I was bringing home. I was like, I need it for some other things. So I kind of let it go by the wayside. And then, that stuff wind up hitting your credit and all of that.
Right. That's how they get you, man.
Yeah, yeah. And when you don't have no education, it's like, you're going to get jammed up for real.
Right. And to piggyback off what you said in terms of like how young you were, I vividly remember about 4 or 5 years ago taking my brother he graduated from North Carolina A&T. I took him to school. First day, he's setting up his dorms. They had Wells Fargo there. They had Capital One there, and they were giving out pre-approved offers to students. They stopped my brother and said, "Hey, are you new? Are you a student? Are you over 18?" He said, "Yes. Here's a credit card offer. You'll be pre-approved for a $500 limit." He's like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, "Yo, hold on." And so I just started questioning the salesperson who was there, right? So I asked, well, he doesn't have a job. So usually you guys ask for income. So if he put 0, are you still going to approve him? It's like, oh yeah, because it's a student credit card. I'm like, well, how do you expect a student to pay back the credit card if the student doesn't have a job, right? So you're putting you're putting unnecessary strain on the student, and it's a cycle that
Yeah.
needs to be broken in our community,
That's how they
for
got
sure,
me.
man. Yeah, I mean and it was so many kids. I kid you not, man. It was hundreds of kids signing up for these credit cards, and there was a ton of vendors in there. And I was just like, no, you don't need this, man. This is not something you need. If you don't have the money to actually buy it, then you don't need it. If it's something that you have to put on a credit card at the age of 18, unless it's a life-threatening emergency or some type of emergency, you really don't need it.
Yeah.
And just us not understanding as we're going through um school, you know, us not understanding the value of a dollar, how credit works, and all these things.
Right.
I mean, it sets us up for failure, man, right out the gate.
Hmm.
And literally, you could take, from you being 18 to about 25, 26, to really turn your credit around if you don't have the right guidance telling
Yep.
you, yes, do this, no, do this. You know,
And you usually
it,
find that out when you're trying to go get a car or
right,
something else, and it's like your credit. You like my credit, and then you start thinking back like, oh, that credit. Man, I remember I had all them credit card statements coming in, the da da da, and then you start getting a little bit of wherewithal with you of saying, okay, what do I need to do to figure this out? Then you start learning about, TransUnion and Experian
right.
and I forget the other one, but
Equifax. Yeah,
Equifax. And then you start, because that's what happened to me. I started learn like, oh, okay, now, but it even though I started understanding it, I still went left because I was in Jamal's ballpark early. Like, your fiat's nothing, so they could have that. Like, so it wasn't.
right,
Even though I had a little understanding, it wasn't like, oh, well, I understand it enough to clear it up and then try to make a move with it. It wasn't until, for me, a couple years ago, and I know we moving around, but I went to a Robert Kiyosaki, one of those at the
Rich
at
Dad
the
Poor Dad
hotel
events.
joints. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So I go there, right? And me and my wife, we're there, we're listening, and they feeding you everything, but they gave you the jewel at the end, and the jewel was how to use the money off a credit card to invest. Like, he was taking money off a credit card, investing in properties, fixing them up, selling them for more, paying the credit card back in full. They will up the credit limit up. He would
yep,
take more money, do that, keep paying it back fast, so they'll keep upping your credit, and then you're using their money to create wealth for yourself. Because what happened is, if you spend 10, make 20. Now that's 10 you got in the game that's free. You pay
right.
them that 10 back. You got that 10. They're gonna give you credit limit for 20. Now you find something for 15, make 30. And I'm just throwing numbers out there, but
Preach.
then
Yep.
you got real money on the tuck. You got $20,000 in the tuck. That's real money that now you can maneuver. But you said the key thing, and I know with us, it seems like we got 20 in the tuck. Now I can go get the fashion. I can go get the
Right,
wheels. I can go get,
right,
you know what I'm saying? We not thinking about investing,
right.
and me and Jamal was talking about this earlier on the phone about, um, oh, and another thing they said too, just to wrap that up, they told you how to maneuver through businesses by creating LLCs. Put this over here, put that over there. They said they was telling you like how to create a board. You don't want to have your name on the board. Let somebody else run the money, and then they cut you something from it, so you can't. So it's not attached to
So
you, and
there's
then
no liability. Right,
exactly. Yep. Yep. So
right,
they showed you how to
right.
not be liable and everything. And I was like, I told my wife, I said, we stayed here for like an hour, and that was the jewel. They gave you the jewel and she said it real quick and fast and wrapped up and was gone. But I was like, that's
Hmm.
the jewel. But
That's a kicker, and that ties back into the balance transfers, right? So a CD, taking the money, putting it into a CD is one vehicle, but if you are trying to invest in, say, rental properties, or if you're trying to invest in buying and flipping houses, the stock market. I'm real big on M&As, mergers and acquisitions in the stock market, right?
Yep.
So I'm always looking at what company is buying who and who's too big to fail. And
Yep.
those are things that I'm always looking at, right? So if you are able to leverage money from your credit cards and then put that money somewhere else, like you said, to allow it to make money for you.
Yep.
That's the golden rule, and people have been doing it for years, man,
Yeah.
for years.
It's how they move. It's how they maneuver in them. See, when me and Jamal was talking about today, we were saying, I was telling him, I feel like right now we're in the retail game. We're in the money game right now, in
Right.
the sense that everything is about bread. Everybody's trying to get bread. I don't know for what. Well, I know for what. On paper is like, oh, I want to get this money because I want to get a house, but I don't think no one's getting the part of this is how people become filthy rich is by
Right.
taking this money, reinvesting, sitting tight, wearing, your man was a billionaire, but he was wearing beat up jeans and the turtleneck and beat up Adidas to his Apple event, Steve Jobs. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
Right.
and I don't know if he was wearing that, outside of work or whatever, but that's the play he put on. Like, I'm a billionaire, but I just, I wear Payless sneakers. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they're stacking, reinvesting. And then once you get to a certain level, then you can go ahead and, but you gotta have a governor
Right.
Hey,
on
Right.
yourself.
that's
Right.
Mhm.
that's the key. I want to
Yep.
jump in because
Yeah.
I wrote the word down, nature, while Marcus was talking, and
Hmm.
Dap, you just said something about you got to have a governor.
Yes.
Marcus was saying the bank the bank is betting on your nature to get the best of you, and the credit card company is betting. The
Yeah.
bank wants you to not have the discipline to let the CD sit so they can hit you with that fee.
Right.
The credit card company is hoping that you don't have the discipline to make that monthly payment so then
Right.
they can put the hammer on you.
Yep.
So what they're betting on to because we did promise we was gonna mold some metaphysics into this.
Yes, sir.
They're betting on nature
Yep.
to
Your nature.
and
To
your
run its
nature
course.
cannot be controlled. So check
Yeah.
this out.
Yes.
It it full to continue with full disclosure. When I first had a taste of making what for me was the most money I had ever made in my life, the child in me still needed acceptance. So the child in me who never had the fly kicks, that motherfucker went bananas.
Yes,
Excuse me,
sir.
excuse my language. Hey, look, okay, I made $4,000 this week. I
Mm.
man, East Bay used to send catalogs in my house
I remember East
every
Bay.
week.
Yes.
They
Yes.
Hey,
said,
I still go on the East Bay website from time to time, man.
"Oh
Yep.
It's a
man,
force of
Oh,
habit,
it's,
man.
it, it- oh, yeah, it's all online now, right?
Yeah, it's all online now. But
Okay,
I used
okay.
to love those catalogs, man.
Yeah.
oh
Not
my
to
God,
cut
man,
you off, man, but yeah.
nah, man. Hey, look, I would go, I would go and get the sweatsuit. And I'd be like, I'd already have the shoes lined up in East Bay. Like, oh my God, I'm gonna kill him. When Wiz Khalifa came out with the black and yellow. Oh,
Right.
I had the black and yellow retro Jordans with the
Ooh.
Yeah.
the
The
black
ones,
and
the high
yellow.
tops. Yeah, I
Oh,
know what
come
you're talking about.
on, man.
Yeah.
But see, the child was still needing to be fed. And what happened is I had an opportunity to become a millionaire and blew it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it so for me what has been happening is it's been the last I'm gonna say the last 11 years has been about I know people use the term killing your ego. it has been for me about maturing my ego,
Yes.
because you can't live without your ego.
Right.
It's a part of you, but that little child has to grow up. And I
Right.
was telling Dap the other day, yesterday, I think. It's funny when Marcus got to talking about, they call you a price tag, or what they call it. You said a brand whore,
Label whore. Yeah.
label whore. That was your
Yeah.
boy. You know, right now I'm wearing some Walmart sweatpants and a workout shirt with a bleach stain at the bottom. Now I don't look like a complete bum, but there was a time I would, go to the gym was a fashion show for me,
Right.
and now through just life, I've busted down so to the point where, and I can go and get me a nice Jordan outfit, but I ain't spending no money on that shit. Um, and I feel like I had to walk through that to kind of tame and mature my own ego to a degree. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
And it's unfortunate um, that at that late age in life to have to go through that. But I also feel fortunate that I ain't dead. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right.
Um,
And here's a kicker to that as well, though, right? So you look at different races, right? You look at the Asian community, you look at the Black community, the Spanish community, the white community. Um, the common denominator for us as Black people has always been, going back to the Dr. King days, is acceptance, right? We went through the civil rights movement, and we just wanted to be accepted. Um, and so it's already ingrained into our heads, right? So that term, you look good, you feel good, all these different things tie into us just spending money unnecessarily. And again, I'm not trying to preach, because I still from time to time uh do it, right? I still, I love Jordans, right? That was my generation when I grew up. I unfortunately, I didn't have in high school all the Jordans that I wanted, but now that I make enough money to where I can go and buy them and it not affect my family at all, sometimes I will just go out and I'll splurge, like, oh yeah, okay, I wanted these when I was in high school, let me take advantage of that. But as you mentioned, uh, you have to grow up, you have to evolve, um, you you have to, my pastor in Cali always would say, you have to die every single day and become a better person the next morning, right? So as you lay down, figure out how you become a better person for your family. And those are, it sound real cliche, but those are things that once we figure it out as a community, things will be better, right? There's no real reason that the Black community spends, what is it, upwards of, billions or $1 trillion a year on
Right.
just retail, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
um why is that? Why is it that there is a, you know there's so many different Chinese food places in,
Oh
what's a
man.
city, Oak Cliff, or some of the other cities, right? But yet you go to, in Plano, not too far from where I live, there's a Asian town, not a town, but like a community where they have grocery stores and all these things, and it's in their language, but we can't set up shop there. But they constantly are in our communities, and it's something that, you know we're just we're it's almost, I don't want to say we're just sucked right in, because some of the stuff is needed, but I just figure, I, I have to wonder, how can we break that mold, right? How can we break those chains and not what's the term I'm looking for? And not live like we need to impress our neighbors, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And again, it's something that I struggle with daily, right? It's something I struggle with when have some downtime at work or on the weekend. Do I really need this? Do my daughter really needs this? She's 2. Does my wife really need this? Do I, all these things? It's a constant struggle, and it all ties back to money, right? And the love of money, not,
Man, you
so
said a lot, man. Oh man, you on point. You got so many piggyback moments in that in what you just said, bro. Not to cut your wisdom, but man, I think and I'll chime in real quick, man. I just think the first thing you said was you're able to do it because your household is in order. I think that's key. So, you know, um, ending on what you just said, what is it called when the athlete makes it? And it's something remorse they call it.
buyer's remorse. Is that what
Not buyers, but it's like survival remorse. Like you made it out
okay.
and nobody else did, and now you have, you can attain some things, and and it's that's like the question. No, do my kids really need this? Do my wife really need this? And now you're struggling with. We grew up in a struggle. Now I have some means, and now you still have you struggled in your mind, but then I have these means, and you're fighting with, can I like? Is it okay for me to do is it okay for me to buy this, or is it okay for me to take this trip, or is it okay for us to go over there? And I think what happened is this on the psychology end of it was, Pimp C said something in the song, and he was like, I was telling Jamal this. I think it was on like a Jay-Z intro, and he was like, "We was kangs, and we used to wear gold and all of that. Don't be mad at us." And I think what happened was, and I was just telling these cats this on a call in this producer circle I'm with, and I was telling them, I was like, we've been stripped of what we were, right? Like when we come up, like, you can argue we was already here or brought over here, how you want to line it up. But what we do know is this: we don't have a culture per se. Like we can't go to the continent of Africa and say we home or I'm back, or so our culture is what we have evolved through here, right?
Right.
So now when you come from, come from slavery or what have you here, and then you try to find your way within that, right? So then you get some, you get some you get some European whites to help fight for your cause, right? So now you get some things in government, and they pass some laws, but they don't really enforce them. Like it's kind of just on paper. And then we get to this point of, like you said, when we see what the elite have, and we've been down here for so long, and then we get a little something, we just jump to want to do what we see other people doing with money. And it's like going from A to Z, and you didn't take any steps to get to Z. So right, so it's the whole income tax thing. When it's income tax time, me and Jamal was talking about this, somebody, you going to the used Drake, get you a Beamer, you don't know what it's gonna cost to fix that Drake, but you want a Beamer. You know what I'm saying? You try to go to a little decent restaurant to eat, you gonna get a couple duds, but you don't have the wherewithal to invest that money. You know what I'm saying? Say, okay, well, if I knew something about the stock market or whatever, I could put a stack in there and build that up, like, you know what I mean, and then pull something out. Or the credit card thing, if we know about how the credit cards work and investing. So now it's like Jamal said, the learning this in our 40s or maybe a little earlier, but but maybe trying
enforcing it in your 40s.
Like trying to implement some things now. I think that's what happened to us, bro. We just come from not having nothing. And when we get a little something, we want to show that we can have something, but it's in our DNA to be something. It's just been wiped out because when you brought over here and stripped of your culture and of your nature, and then you taking on somebody else's thing, then that's what you get. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
right now in this day and age, now I feel like we're starting to get to the point where we're getting some understanding, and you know, and the future could be a little better than it was. But we know we had stuff like Tulsa, Oklahoma, and stuff that if that could have stayed in play, like if that wasn't destroyed, that could have made it a little better than it is now because you had people having their own thing.
Right, exactly. And to piggyback off that point, in terms of Tulsa, right? So you know, prior to that, prior to them bombing, there was the money I believe circulated, you know, 5 or 6 times
So,
within 6 times within the community in Tulsa, right? Before even leaving, right? So you had your doctors, you had all these different things. One thing I tell my brother and I tell young people all the time is we as black people have to use, because we have to use our race as an advantage. And what I mean by that is oftentimes when I'm in meetings, I'm probably going to be the only black person there, right? Because I'm the only black person there, um, because of the relationships that I've built over the years, I'm able to then move around and you know, around the company, right? And you know, I have an advantage over certain white people simply because I can do certain things and I'm black, right? So I'm filling a quota that, you know, that they
Right.
actually need to be filled because they don't have enough people who look like me in the room, right? So instead of me looking at it as a means of, you know, this door was shut in my face, this door was shut in my face, they went with this white person or whatever the case may be. I look at it as, you know, I'm gonna be the best version of myself. And because I am black and because, you know, the things that they've done to my ancestors, they're going to afford me the opportunities that I want. And then on top of that, how do I then turn around and build opportunities for others?
right.
Right. So how do
I,
I
I,
build generational wealth? How do I build things within my community or things within for my family that's going to help them long term as
Mhm.
opposed to the short term happiness, right? So that's kind of how I approach it, um, going into the workplace and into to other environments. And then I also listen, right? I listen to those
Key.
who are wealthy or who have money and look at the things that and look at the characteristics that all of them have, uh, and then try to implement where I can, where it fits into my life, right? And going back to the debt part because that is a big thing, for everyone listening, for everyone who, um, for you guys, for myself as well. It's once you start or once you take 5 or 6 steps to start getting out of debt, it's going to it's going to become like a magnet, right? You're going to want to pay off that credit card. You're going to want to pay off that, you know, furniture bill or whatever it is, right? You're once you pay the first one off, and the way I did it and the way I've always coached people to do it is to take the smallest invoice you have, right? You make sure that you put all of your credit cards, all of your payments on automatic payments so that you don't miss. I would rather have a insufficient funds fee of $35 than a missed payment, right? Because I can make that $35 up in 2 weeks when I get paid again. However, that missed payment on my TransUnion, Equifax, or Experian is going to last years. So that in turn, that one payment is going to drop my credit score so low that when I do go get a car, instead of me paying 4 or 5% interest, I'm now paying 17% interest, right? So you are now weighing what, you know, if you look at it holistically, being broke and not being broke, I don't want to say broke because broke is a mindset, having a lack of resources versus having money in your bank account and not paying your bills, it doesn't add up, right? So I would rather be broke, but all my bills are paid, than to have $500 where I could just go spend it on some clothes or shoes or whatever and not pay my bills. If that makes sense, right? Because again, in the long haul, when I do need something, when my child needs something, and I have to actually ask for credit or ask for money from a bank, they're not going to gouge me at 19% interest on, yeah, we'll give you $1,000, but it's going to cost you, you know, 20% interest every single month until you can pay it back. And so we as a Black community, we really, not just Black community, just as the human race as a whole, right? We need to um, figure out how do we overcome that,
We
right?
have to understand the matrix.
Right.
I, hmm I want to swing it a little bit if we can, because right now, currently, there's a lot of scarcity. There's the idea that resources are very in short supply. Lumber, um, go to get the kids. Chick-fil-A has gone from a 6-piece to a 5-piece, and
My wife said they were out of barbecue sauce or something.
listen,
At least around here.
go and buy
Wow.
go and get 2 5-piece meals. They give you one ketchup,
Oh man.
and they
Chick-fil-A?
say it's because of the everything going on in the world. There's supposedly this um, cyber attack that has created this gas shortage. Um, what's interesting is that Uranus is in Taurus right now, and Uranus was in Taurus 80 some odd years ago, 84, 85 years ago. Now, at this time, we have the Great Depression, Uranus and Taurus.
Yep.
Uranus opposed Jupiter in Scorpio in 1934. This is all Great Depression era. So here we have it here where Uranus has because it takes Uranus about 84 years to go through all 12 signs of the zodiac. Uranus is a sudden interruption, um, sudden it's anything sudden, a breaking, a rebellion, a break from the current status quo. That's Uranus. Taurus deals with resources. Everything we see going on now is Taurian. Oil, food, lumber. These are all things that the earth produces, right? And suddenly there's this idea of there being scarcity. Now, when the Great Depression hit, as we touched on earlier, basically when we're taking off the gold standard, that's the equivalent of introducing a new form of currency because it's no longer backed by gold. So it's a new invented form of currency.
Right.
Right.
Now it's interesting that right now we have all of the brouhaha about the Bitcoin
Hmm.
and all of the other subsidiaries at the different names. So what I'm wondering is, um, do we see the scarcity as real, or is it contrived to push us from the last vestiges of what's tangible to being completely digital, and to where people will see less value in the things that have been the hallmark of value throughout the history of man: land, resources. You know, land has always been valuable. Um, the ability to produce food, water. So, are we being conditioned to see less value in these types of resources? Just want to throw that out.
It's
That's
interesting.
that's interesting. Actually, didn't think of it that way. I mean, I would say the mind. I would say the media plays a huge role in that, right? So, um, we get a ton of our information from the mainstream media, and so with regards to the lumber shortage, right, and causing housing delays or houses being built and remodels being delayed because of this, and then the whole issue with gas. I do think there is some sort of a shortage, but I think it's way overblown. Right? If you remember, what was it, a couple years ago when I think it was Hurricane Harvey hit down in Houston. Um, there was a gas shortage because they just couldn't get out this way to bring DFW gas, and people pretty much lost their mind. And I think as a whole, as a human race as a whole, we are conditioned to think, you know, the worst thing can what will happen, what will go wrong, what can go wrong will go wrong, right? So if we hear that there's a shortage of something, let me stack up right now and get as much as I can, and not worry about my fellow citizens. So I think it's a combination, right? I think there is some truth to the shortages, but I think that because the media or how the media um, relays the information really takes precedent and really makes people on edge, 10 times more than what they should be.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think. Speaking of shortages, like I remember when COVID was in full bloom, yeah, they were saying like they had to pour all this milk out, and because all this milk was created for schools for throughout the nation, and all these companies had to throw it out, and they had to kill cattle because the supply chain was disrupted because of COVID, and they didn't have they people were kind of the truckers weren't driving as much because they was trying to figure this COVID thing out, so they were killing cattle. And and I'm like, and this, and I listened to a guy talk about, I didn't know how the supply chain and cattle work, but it works for them to be fattened up and slaughtered at the end. They're not really meant to just be out grazing in the grass. Like they're bred to be slaughtered and then obviously sent out. So it was funny. It was just funny, like hearing that. I'm like, and then what Jamal just said, it was just like, yo, the media, and then who gives the media these templates to use for telling us these things, right? And it's like with like this gas that's going on in North Carolina. I don't think it's so. I don't know if it's so much in y'all area, but with that Colonial Pipeline, like
Right.
they telling people to like, yo, relax, like this is just a hiccup. And I mean, gas stations was crazy, like everybody was just so what it tells me is this: humanity ain't what humanity think humanity is. And I always say this: we have a bunch of templates we use, but we don't live by them, right? Like we
Right.
have laws and all these things, and But humanity is always on the cusp of something going crazy. Like it's like if this is the surface, right? Just a tinge under here, it's at a boil effect. Because we see
Right.
it all the time. Like
Right.
we walk in grocery stores together, and no one's really, and I get it. Like nobody know each other. You're not gonna be in there. Hey, buddy, you buy some peas? Like I get it, but I'm just saying, like we interact in that way. We had laundromats, we had grocery stores, we walking in the mall. But let me clip you by accident. Like you, like right. Like listen, that's what I'm saying. Like we right on the cusp of being wild. So whenever we hear something, we just jump to scarcity, right?
Right.
Like everybody taking
Right.
all the toilet tissue last year. It was just like, yo, and then you don't even know what was that all about? Like who gave the signal out like, yo, go get all the toilet tissue? Like I just didn't know where that came from. It was bugged out to me. You know what I'm saying?
Facebook.
And,
Another thing that was bugged out real quick was I see this dude with a cart full of he had a cart full of milk. Like he had 30 gallons of milk. I was like, yo,
isn't
this
it gonna spoil? Like,
like,
what are you doing?
no, I was like,
Right.
yo, what is he doing? Like, it was crazy. But
Right.
Cass was just like, and then, when me and Jamal was talking, I said, bro, I wasn't like when the pandemic first dropped, I was in Walmart doing some grocery shopping. Yo, no one was in the canned good area. I'm like, yo, Cass got to be shut in. It should be no canned goods on the table. You know what was going? All the snacks, all the Tostitos, all the Tex Mix bags of miniature Snicker bars. Like that section was shot. Meat was gone, but wasn't no canned goods touched, bro. I was like, we don't even know like what to even go for in the pan. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you need to go
Right.
get stuff that's going to last you a minute. You know, it was just that was wild.
Right. Right. It was tough, man. I actually was traveling for work when the pandemic hit. I was in Atlanta at the time, and my wife was here, and she's like, "Yeah, people are going crazy, and people are, buying all the toilet paper." She's like, "Maybe I need to go get some just
Right.
so that we have some." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Like, and that type of thinking is how the world works, right? It's like you hear someone, oh, I'm gonna just go buy, 10 things of toilet paper. Um, Everybody else like, oh, you're buying it. I'm gonna buy some for myself, right?
Mhm.
And water and all these other things. And people probably still have toilet paper and bottled water, camped out in their basement
Yep.
from when they were able to get into a grocery store and overspend for things that proved to be. I mean, I wish I was, um, I wish I had the foresight to see that pandemic coming, because I probably would have looked up what Charmin and some of the others were trading at
And
if
and
they're
and that's
public.
that's what the dudes in that's what the guys in the Matrix did that. They
Yeah.
did that. Yep.
And they made a fortune, right? Like, speaking of lumber, years ago, my one of my mentors, lumber liquidators. I don't know if you guys heard of them or not, right?
I'm familiar.
Years ago, they had an issue where they decided to outsource the manufacturing of their hardwood to a China company. Well,
Uh-oh.
that particular company was linked to cancer
Mhm.
somehow, and so they took a real big dive. Um, it was one of the first things I really really invested in, where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take a chance. Their stock had got all the way down to about $6 a share,
Oh.
from where it was at. I forget. I don't remember at the time, but so I just took damn near everything I had and just bought stock, because my thought process was
Oh, it's gonna
this
come back.
company, yeah, it's gonna come back, and the company was
Yep.
too big to fail. Right? They were
Yep.
in multiple states, multiple cities, storefronts everywhere, brick and mortars everywhere. They're gonna
Mhm.
come back, or a Home Depot, a Lowe's,
Go buy
Ace
them.
Hardware is going to buy them, and then the
Yep.
stock is really going to skyrocket. Well, you fast forward 10 years later, the stock is trading at $28 today, or something like that, from where it was when I bought it at 6, right? And that
Mhm.
was based off a hiccup on their part, right? Another company to think about, and this is something I've just been doing my research on, is Peloton, right? The
Mhm.
bike. Um, they ignored some safety recalls on their treadmill, and a child died, unfortunately. And so their stock has been just plummeting because of it.
Mhm.
They're going to recover because they're too big to fail. They grew at an astronomical rate during the pandemic, and they have a cult like following.
Mm-hmm.
For so if you guys are looking at a company where in the long term something to invest in, Peloton, I would say over the next couple of weeks is something to consider, because right now they're in a fire, but I'm 100% positive that they're going to come out on top and probably stronger than ever.
UL, and I know you want to chime in, Jamal. I'm just say this real quick. UL said they use cycles of the cosmos to amp the charge they want, and him seeing that made me think about how these elites use CNBC, Bloomberg, and
Yep.
and I forget the other one. But they'll give, this is why you never hear them talk about, and I know I'm just saying this in the terms of the cycle of biz companies going down and then coming back up. Um when you watch Bloomberg and all this stuff, you really never hear them go negative on nobody, because their business model is to talk about the stock market, and they need to talk to CEOs and CFOs and CIOs and all of that. So they never really going to kill you. Like they may talk about your stock price, but they're not going to really go at you the way you think that, like the way some YouTubers I watch that have no connection to them allegedly go at people, right?
Right.
So what happens is they put a bug in the air to one of these people on TV to talk down a stock that they're involved in, and that's how they get out.
They
And
short
then
it.
they
Yep.
talk about stock that they want, how they do the game. They short it, and then they do it the opposite way, where they build one up because they got something in it, and then it takes off. We're seeing it in real time with Elon Musk.
Yep.
You know, he goes on. I didn't
It's
even
kind
watch
of
Saturday
trading.
Night Live. Yeah, he talked about Dogecoin, and then it went down, everybody, and then it goes back up. And it's like, just like how he talks about the Tesla stuff. Or we got this new material, and somebody pulled this card on one of these financial channels I follow. They was like, yo, he does scarcity. He just talks, and people think, oh, it's gonna be the next thing, but he doesn't bring anything forth to prove that. He has cars on the street,
Right.
yes. But all that new tech he talking about is just talk, bro. And he found a game of, or if I say this, my stock go up. So I'm just gonna go out and
Right.
say things, but it's a real tangible thing. As we were talking about how money works, he's giving you a BS assumption, and then it makes his stock price go. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And then he gets richer. He pulls money from it to invest in things on the low. You know what I'm saying? Or what he's trying to do.
Right.
It's
And when years ago, when, I don't know if you guys remember, you were in North Carolina, so Time Warner was big out there at the time. That's a company I worked for before Charter bought Time Warner, and it became Spectrum.
Mhm.
Well, I was in Herndon, Virginia at the time.
Oh, did we lose him?
oh man, it's like, oh no, you're not about to spill this one.
Oh man, hold on. He got to come back in.
Let me see if I can resend. I mean, he should still be able to get in with the same invite.
Right. Maybe his phone died.
No, that's funny timing.
Yo, come on. They watching everybody. And let's go over to them YouTube. They're
Oh,
watching
there
us.
you go. Okay.
Sorry about that. My phone started overheating, so I had to just pick
Oh,
up my
okay.
work phone. But
We
my
thought the
apologies.
Matrix.
Do you have Apple products?
Yeah.
Yeah. That Apple joint will do that.
I was like, it's the first time I've ever seen it's like overheating. What the hell? Like, what are you talking about? I'm just, yeah, it was weird. But yeah, so our CEO came out at the time. His name was Rob Marcus, and he said, don't listen to the chatter. We're a great company. We're not going to be bought. Well, Comcast came in and at the 5th hour said, we're going to buy you guys. I was literally in a meeting with them. A couple of their VPs was like, we're going to buy you guys. What I did was I looked at what we were trading at the time. It was, $160 some dollars a share. And I decided to, take a chance and invest, right? Well, that then skyrocketed because once that news went public, people thought, oh my God, Time Warner and Comcast is going to be huge. So just like Elon Musk, and revving up his companies and the companies that he's involved in, once people hear that, oh, they're merging or they're coming together, people just go crazy. The stock prices skyrocket. And that's exactly what happened. And that deal fell through, and Charter came in at the 5th hour, and the stock prices almost tripled, simply because Time Warner wanted to buy, other people knew they wanted to buy, and Charter came in and did so. So, I mean, let me ask you a question. How do you think we can get our community more involved in the stock market, right? And understanding that there's wealth to be had in the stock market, as well as investment properties and in real estate and things like that. You can really build yourself out of, low income, middle income to a higher income through buying and selling houses as well. So how do we get our community, to buy in? Because right now, when I talk, just like Jamal, when we had that conversation, it came up because of I think it had to be one of these mergers and it was the Hilton, not Hilton, it was the Marriott and the Westins were merging. And I was telling Tony, our barber, that, hey man, if I don't know how you are in stocks or what you're considering, but here's the information I got. Starwood is about to explode. And so we started talking about the different stock prices and how you can go about buying and selling. And, some people in the barbershop was like, okay, yeah, that's good. But others was just like, yeah, whatever, man. Like, I got other things on my mind that I'm worried about, trying to put food on the table and trying to, make sure my kids are okay, and trying to make sure, like all the different kind of worldly problems that we all have. Mm-hmm. So how do we get our community engaged when we have so many other variables that are attached to our day-to-day lives?
I think it's a multifaceted question and a multifaceted series of answers. I don't think there's a one set way, because it not to sound like cliche, but it starts with education. But education is not just being educated on money.
Right.
It's about being fully educated. I have a book back here. It's called The History of Medicine. Just to give an example. And this book introduces the idea of, and this is why I was recommending the pediatrician that we send our children to, mm-hmm. because there's an idea in medicine called Cartesian medicine. Now, Cartesian medicine doesn't come into play until the 17th century. Now, before the 17th century, if a person got sick or had some type of ailment, then there were multiple ways of treating that person. Putting pictures up in the room, playing music, meditation, All these different things were considered to be part of the treatment protocol. Another example, the science now that we call astronomy, before the Cartesian era, astronomy and astrology were one science. You were learning the physical nature of the heavenly bodies and the relationship between them. So what does this have to do with your question? We have a fragmented approach now to education. And so education is all encompassing. First and foremost, and I'm going to beat the astrology drum. Children need to be introduced to astrology from the time they're like 3 years old. Parents need to, first and foremost, couples need to figure out their compatibility. Then when they have a child or children, they need to be able to look at those children and to be able to have a schematic of how that child's psyche works. Here's why. You can't get to the point of being a highly functional, responsible adult without the foundation. Yoel said something way back in the chat about you can't build a house without a foundation first. And so most adults are big children walking around. Okay? So if we just look at this thing from just economical, political, socio-economical standpoint, we're just going to keep repeating the same failures that we've already had. That's been the problem. Right. And so most of the time for Black people, Moorish, indigenous, African descent, however we want to go by the label,
right,
is because we got to cover all the, because everybody listens. We normally, the people who have been about the economic thing, they don't want nothing to do with the metaphysical. The people who deal with the metaphysical or occult, they don't want to have nothing to do with the practical. That shit's just mundane. The people who deal with the astrological, they in their little corner. The trick is all of these things at one time were considered an educational system. So until these things can be merged again, and then the people who are in this group see the value of over here, then at the end of the day, it just comes down to individualism.
Yes.
And that's what we push on this show. To be honest, I think it's a point of soul evolution to get to a point where you're even an adequate vessel to receive certain information.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think before we get to the point of an us, there has to be an I. Okay. And so if you get enough I's who have reached a certain level of holistic maturity, like a lot of people are mature in one area, but they're children in another. It's very hard to come at life and be looking across the horizon trying to figure out how do I bring everybody up to, and everybody as in the different components of your own self, your own psyche, up to par. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the major challenge comes back to individualism.
Yes. Right. Yes. And since Jamal gave us that very intelligent response, once you get to your individual self and you're ready to learn, then you need this. You need this book, Stock Investment Tips for Dummies. I went and bought this book. I've been wanting to invest for a long time. I first began to understand it when the 401ks dropped. I was working at a job. I went to payroll. He was like, "Look, 401k. This is what it is. It's like a pension, but it's not a pension. It's your own money you're investing. We'll invest with you, and you can get this your pension at the end. It's something separate, but it's something you can be involved in. So I had never looked at. Now at this time I worked for a newspaper company, and I would read the whole newspaper, so I would look through the financial section, and I would see the charts and everything, but I didn't know how to read it at the time. But he told me how to read it because he told me what I was investing in. I was investing in a mutual fund at the time. I think it was Fidelity, Black. It could be BlackRock, or they might have changed the name now, or it might be BlackRock now. It was Black something differently back in the late '90s. Um, so I went there. I started it, and that was my journey into getting into investing. Um, and then over time, it's just always been on my mind. In the last few years, I started listening to a bunch of investment channels on YouTube, just getting the jargon down, getting the understanding. A lot of stuff was going over my head, but I felt like long as it's in my subconscious, it'll be there when I need it. You know what I mean? So I
Right.
watched a lot of financial stuff. Another channel I started watching probably in the last year was called Earn Your Leisure, EYL. They do a great job of, now they got stuff where you can get in some classes with them and all of that and get a little deeper, but the stuff that they show on YouTube is really interesting. Um so what I think is, you said how can we get people to invest? It's, for one, it's going to depend on, if you get yourself right individually, then you come to say you start looking at your money. And in this book, on the first couple of pages, it gives you a diagram on how to separate your money, and you find out what do you have to invest, like what can you use, because you have money to invest. You don't think you do, but you do, because we always think, when we hear about stocks, we always hear about the major stocks, the fang stocks like Facebook, Apple, Google, and Netflix, and all of those, and I forget the other end. But we hear about the major joints, but there's a lot, like how you said, the lumber stock went down to $6. There's a lot of stocks that are in your price range to buy a share, and some of them pay a dividend. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And
Yep.
once you get enough shares, then you'll get a dividend check depending on how the company pays out. It could be twice a year, it could be quarterly. They
Yep.
got their ways they pay out.
And you're
But
you're invited to meetings, so you're in the know of what's
yeah,
going
you like
on. Yep.
yeah, like if you own any of Berkshire Hathaway stock, you can go to Omaha on your own dime and sit in the board meeting with Warren Buffett and them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
But um so I think for us is like, you got to find out what do you have. For one, you got to do your research and get a book like this. Do some research and get into it. Um to get the basics down. Then you find out what can I put into the market, right? And you want to put into the market things you can, like, you want to put in something you can get a dividend back. You can get some money back off your stock.
Right.
And once you do that and start growing your portfolio, because once you get in it, listen, man, I haven't started investing yet until we square away something else. And then that money that we're using to do something else, I'm going to use to invest. So I'm on my way, but I've done years of research. So when I hop in, I'm going to
You'll
be,
be ready to
yeah, like,
run.
I'm going to
Yeah.
be comfortable with the moves I'm making when I hop in, because I've been doing my research and listening and, taking mental notes, but I got this book also. So so I think for us, it depends on your financial situation, you know. And but if you have a job, if you work at somewhere they have a 401k, I would say put as much as you can in that. I would say put the bare minimum on that,
Right.
because if you can't invest in the stock market on your own, you do have that avenue of having something building up for later on. You know what I
Right.
mean? Don't do what I did. I've had two 401s that I cashed out. You know what I'm saying? And my wife, she was there for the second one, and she was like, "Hey," and I was like, "Yeah, I'll get another job and build it back." You know what I'm saying? I could have rolled it over, and I didn't. And I knew,
Right.
and at the time I knew about rolling it over, and I could have kept it there, and I could have still put money in it, but I cashed it out. So I think part of it is education. Second part is what's your financial status and can you invest? Second part, if your financial status isn't that great, but you work for a company that has a 401k, put the least amount you can in it. And now, I don't know about now, but there was a time where they were matching you 100%. Some jobs may still do that, and some may match you 50%, and some may just have you investing in it. But
Right.
I would say do that when you go talk to your payroll person about what you're investing in. They're going to tell you 9 times out of 10 your money is going to be in a low yield mutual fund, because they figure you're not going to touch that money for 20, 30, 40 years. So whatever happens with the mutual fund market, you're going to be okay because you're not going to pull the money out for so long.
Right.
But you also can do high yield where they're going to invest your money aggressively and you can gain it or lose it. But 9 times out of 10 people with 401ks, you're going to be in a low yield. They're going to tell you what you're in. They're going to show you. And like, I don't know if they're going to tell you like the guy told me, but they'll let you know what you're in. You could go to a newspaper, or you can go online and follow your ticker of your mutual fund you're in,
Yep.
and see how much it is a share and all of that. And then once you start and once you do that, it's kind of it's like when you was into knowledge and searching and reading all these books, and you getting into the John Henry Clarks and the J.A. Rogers and all that, you get excited. So it's the same. The way I got excited with that is the same way I got excited with this financial stuff. It was like, man, like, okay, I got something in the market. Now I want to see how can I mature it. And now you're trying to find ways to help your money grow, because it's your money working for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And your money's gaining money that you had, like you put this little bit in, but now it's gaining all of this, incentive, because you have it in different avenues. So I think, like I said, get yourself right first, as Jamal said. Look at your financial situation, educate yourself, and then if you know someone that's in it also, then you got to start reaching out. I don't know anybody into it like that where I can just call somebody on the phone and talk about it. So the people I interact with is YouTube videos. You know what I'm saying? And then and I know how to read the ticker and all of that. I know how to go to Bloomberg. I have a watch list on Yahoo Finance app. So I already have stocks that I'm looking at that when I'm ready to invest, I know right where I'm going because I have a
Right.
list already. You know what I'm saying? And I go on the app and I see the things that I want to invest in. I see what they're doing in real time. So
Right. And I think that's and that was a part of my question as well, right? Like how I guess it's getting started. And that's, the foundation you guys just laid out is perfect. Like you have to start with yourself, making sure you are soundly financially stable before you can then dive into the market. I guess I should have phrased it a little better is how do we get to that point? How do we then turn around and fix years of trauma and um, trying to unpack all of the I hate to go back to debt, but that's the thing that's really sticking out to me right now is how to unpack, all this debt, right? How to, get yourself um in a position where you can continue to, or start investing in your 401k and taking advantage of, employee match, employer match, up to 6 or 7%, whatever it is now. That's pretty much free money, right? But when we think of it, sometimes we think, oh, well, that's 6% of my paycheck. That's $100, $200, three, four, $500 a paycheck. What am I, what else can I do with that money, as opposed to if I put this money here, my company is going to match it. So it's essentially free money.
right,
We have to mold ourselves into a mindset of not living for instant gratification, right? Not
right,
living for
right.
the now, but how do you live in the now but also prepare for the future? How do you set your kids up? That's something that keeps me up at night, right? That's something that, you know, my kids are, 2 and 7 months. So I'm constantly, what do I need to do to ensure that they are, financially stable to where they don't have to think they need to go out and get a job, any type of job, right? How can I put them in position where they can, go and do exactly what they want in life and not have to worry about, you know, being financially secure.
I think
Because, go ahead.
no, I was just saying um because I was just when you said that, I was thinking of different ways of um how can you do that. I think one is sharing information you have with those that you're around, for one.
Right,
Now, I listen, man. I'm a analyzer supreme, and I try to taper it, but sometimes I can't help but analyze. It's going to depend on who you talking to, off the rip, because you can give someone the greatest information, and if they just like, I don't, but I can't make you now, right? I
right,
gave you the information, but I can't make you. I
right,
think the second thing is if I can show you what I've received from doing it in real time, right? So I can pull up an app, show you what I'm invested in, not showing you my cash, but just showing you like this is my value of what I have invested. It really works, right? Because sometimes, we need to see, well, let me see that. You know what I'm saying?
right.
That's a hot pickle. Let me bite it and see if it's a hot pickle, right? So it's like, so my thing is, if you have a vast amount of information, like you in the financial section as a, you're an engineer, and you in the finance is heavy, it would be maybe having a sit down in a community and bringing people together. Another idea I had was a resource pool where you say, okay, you invest, okay, maybe you don't have it as an individual, but we could do it as a collective, like
So
a fund.
that's something that a couple of my buddies I went to college with. That's something that we started some
Yeah,
years ago, and where um, you know we we all we we're looking at a painting now, but we put money into a pool,
hmm,
and we all have discussions on what can we buy as a collective group that's going to yield us the most returns, right? So right now, it's a painting and it's starting a small business in the California area for Amazon deliveries, right? Where we're not even going to work. It's just putting the money out there and putting the business out there to allow it to then just start
yeah,
working for us,
yeah,
and yeah, you are absolutely right on that. I mean, the community feel and getting people um, to buy in is key, man.
yeah.
I
That's the
I want
biggest
to
thing.
I want to add into the reason that I answered in such a philosophical manner is that personally, I think there are a lot of other components that have to go into being able to receive the information, even if it's available. It's There's a maturation process that has to go on to be able, even if you have access to information, to be able to receive it and utilize it. Like just me personally, patience has not always been my strong suit. So it's not it's and I'm a person who's always enjoyed information, but to understand exactly who I was and am, and why has patience been such a struggle? You understand what I'm saying? I
Right.
think it has to be steps. I'm talking about preparing a vessel to receive. Like if you can have the most enriching, refreshing water, but if you do not have a vessel that can hold it, it don't matter. So I think it's a complicated question, and I think the practical approach is very important, but we got to understand we're talking about psychological, subconscious, traumatic programs that are running. We're talking about making money. We started out the conversation about money is mental. So money is also behavioral. Behavior is culture. So if that's missing, it's a philosophical, um almost epistemological dilemma about going back to the origin of things, as far as the origin of a trauma or a set of traumas, to try to even get the vessel to, you understand what I'm saying? If you
Right.
coming out of, I didn't grow up, not to put my family, but my mom and my parents couldn't function with a joint checking account. They could not function. They could not agree. So I had no understanding of money. The first time they gave me a credit card for $2,000, I said it is on.
Right.
And when I figured out I could go and get a cash advance, I had no idea. So, and I was not even prepared for somebody to even, because my uncle was flipping houses in the 80s. Before all this stuff became popular, he was flipping houses. So I had somebody around who would talk about money, but my nature was not, I still was trying to fulfill certain programs and certain voids. I think there needs to be a holistic approach, even for the people that you attempt to teach. There's a lot of barriers that's got to be overcome. First and foremost, you got to have the right income to invest. You can't invest money when you're barely paying your rent. Common sense, you know. So if you, it's just like my daddy used to tell me, you don't have time to go and volunteer um, when you don't have control of your time yet. You know,
Right.
so it's so many people are coming from different perspectives, and you know, barely filling up their tank full of gas. So it's a very complicated thing to get to this point. You know what I'm saying? How
Right.
do I first get to where I get the income, to where I have the comfort to invest? How do I get to the point where I overcome my childhood needs to be fly? You
Right.
know, my self-esteem issues because I was buying shoes from Sky City, you know, that's a place in North Carolina, you know, back in the day. Uh that was even lower than Kmart, you know. And so, well, I don't know, you know, it's a
Yeah, it's a conundrum a little bit, but I think you know
Yeah. It's
if
like
you
it's not a one size fit all
yeah
type of deal, because there are different variables that tie into it, right? And the reason I ask it is because I that's something I want to get the conversation going amongst us, amongst viewers,
Mhm.
amongst everyone, is how do we start to build generational wealth? And I understand that starts from um, from having the income and having the ability, the wherewithal to then to get started. Because if you're barely paying rent, you can't then just tell someone about investing when, like you said, they don't know where the next rent check's coming from. So one thing I did want to mention as well is something I have had for about 10 about 12 years now. It's something, it's called a credit profile number. Have you guys heard of that?
No.
CPN?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So again, this is my mentor brought this up to me some years ago. Credit profile number is something that a lot of people who not just wealthy, but people who do not want to use their social security number for large purchases, not for homes or things like that. For government type deals where you have to provide your social, but things like buying a car, credit cards, personal loans, checking accounts. Um, a lot of people are using credit profile numbers. What a credit profile number is a 7-digit number similar to your social, um, and it's tied to how you pay your bills, right? So how I got started with it is um, I ended up getting one from my mentor, um, and he then put me on some of his credit cards. And back in the day, you could do it where you were just an authorized user, right? So an authorized user,
Oh, I know what you tapping into. I got you.
yeah, an authorized user. If you add someone on 10 years ago, an authorized user could then
Yeah.
have access to all your entire credit history. So that automatically boosts your credit score up, right? So you're automatically winning. And that's something that a lot of people who are well off do for their kids as they're growing older, right? They put them on their credit cards as co-applicants, right? And knowing that they are going to make the payments on time so that they're already ahead of the game when they enter into college, when they enter into the workforce, they have a credit history to where they can hit the ground running. This credit profile number uh, it is a way that some people can use um, this to then reestablish and rebuild their credit on their actual social security number, right? So if you were to, just hypothetically, if you were to get a credit profile number, you have someone add you on their American Express as a co-applicant. You then have their credit history for that entire account now on the credit profile number, so that 6 months from the time you add, you can go and you can get your own credit card, and then you build off of that. And if you don't pay it, it's not hurting you per se in terms of your social, just the credit profile number itself, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's something that I encourage you guys to take a look at, consider it, because I have one and I have, you know, 4 or 5 credit cards on it. All my major purchases on credit cards go onto my credit profile number as opposed to my actual social, just because I have it and it's available, right? So I use it, but um, it is a way, and I've had it for about 12 years now, and I just keep building upon it and building upon it, and I mean I got a couple of checking accounts, a few credit cards with it, so it's definitely something for you guys to take a look at and strongly consider,
Yeah, I
because
bet
it's
so.
something that it's a game changer, and a lot of my friends who are white really take advantage of it. Some of my black friends are a little hesitant, right? They're like, "Oh, well, I mean, is this illegal?" I'm like, no, it's pretty legit. I mean, you know, there's nothing illegal about it. So definitely
I just
something to
How do
consider
you
and keep in mind.
how do you get it?
So there's companies out there online that will set you up with one. I I'm gonna send you a link. I don't have it now. I didn't come prepared. It's just something that hit me. I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link to where my mentor got his or and mine from some years ago, and see if they still actually have it. And I'll get in contact with them and see if I can get you that information. But it's out there because
Turn me on
I've
that
had
also.
friends. Oh yeah, for sure. I've had friends who have gone to different avenues to get it, and again, it's um, I said 7 digits. Actually, it's like a 9 digit social. So um, I'll definitely get that information to you for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, no
What you
doubt.
just said with that credit profile number, that's like the video I sent you, Jamal, with the guy from Catch Me If You Can, who that movie was based on.
Mm-hmm.
He did that for
Cause
his son.
yeah.
He did that for his sons while they were in college. And when they got out of college, they had like 700, 800 credit scores and was able to go ahead but I don't know if he used and he probably did, but he just didn't say he did. But he was able to give them a limit they could use also. And he kind of seen what they were purchasing, like he could see what they were purchasing and all of that type stuff, but it was under him, and they were basically, like you just said, using his credit. And then when they graduated in 4 years, their credit scores was out the roof, and they was able to, he was like, and they could do whatever they needed to do with the credit. He was also talking about not buying anything with a debit card. Like he do everything through credit and then pay his bill off of his debit. But he didn't say how he pays his bill, but I'm thinking that's how he had to do it. But all his purchases for gas, groceries, a candy bar at the store, everything was on his credit card. And he said, because if like years ago they had that hack of Target, and everybody's debit cards was accessed
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. He was like, it nullifies you from that, and then when money's missing out of your account, it take them a few weeks to do the investigation and that stuff before you get your money back and making sure you ain't had nothing to do with it. But he was like, when it's a credit card, like
Boom.
there's no investigation. It's just like it's credit. So you don't have to worry about, like, if you got a bunch of money in the bank or whatever you got in the bank, like you don't have to worry about that being gone, and then you're struggling of like, well, I got this coming up, I got that coming, how I'm gonna make this work, I can't get my money for a couple of weeks from the bank till they do this investigation. But if you're using credit cards, like your physical money's still there. So yeah, I'm gonna
Right,
look into this one.
and that's a great tool to build your credit as well, right? So,
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
and you're on the East Coast, so you may remember the bank NBNA.
NBNA.
Yeah, they were like I don't know if they were in North Carolina, but I know they were back east, like Massachusetts, New York.
Nations Bank.
Man, it's NBNA. I'm trying to think of what the acronym. Bank of America bought them out, them and Countrywide about the same time, right
Oh,
before the mortgage crisis hit, and they were giving people ridiculous types of credit limits simply because people, as you said, people were using their credit cards for everything, and then at the end of the month, they were just paying it back, right? So,
yep, yep,
um, and so they and again, credit card company, they use algorithms. So this person's spending. Let me give this person more.
yep.
Hopefully, they'll slip up. And again, that's another way to build your credit. It's just I tried that a couple of times. Um, it takes discipline, right?
Definitely.
Because when you even with, say, a mortgage payment, right? A mortgage payment, whether it's 35, 4,500 dollars, whatever it is, when you see that coming out of your account at one time, I don't care how much money you have, unless you are Bill Gates or something like that, it really hurts, right? So the way I do it is I break it up, and I think I was telling you this, Jamal, a few weeks ago, right? The way to do it is to break up your bills. And I think, Dab, you mentioned this with your mother and how she was paying her bills as you know
Buy her check. Yeah, yeah,
by
yeah.
her check. right? So the way I do it is I have every other week my mortgage payment is coming out of my checking account, right? So I don't even see it. And it's half of whatever the mortgage is. Uh, so I'm always ahead, right? Not only is that knocking off 10 years off a 30-year mortgage or 10 plus years, it's also lessening the blow from each paycheck that comes in because I'm not paying
Full
and
amount.
absorbing it, yeah, the full amount, right? And
Yeah.
then the same thing with credit cards and stuff like that. So that's another hack to where if you have a credit card, you're charged by the average day. Your average daily balance is how they calculate what you are paying for interest. So if you have a $2,000 credit limit and you your minimum payment is $40, well, if you only pay $20 every 2 weeks, you essentially will save hundreds and hundreds of dollars off that $1,000 balance if that's all you did, right? Because you are literally dropping your average daily balance down every other week, so it's lessening what you pay in interest. But again, it's something that takes
Wow, now that's
um,
that's a jewel.
it's something
Mm.
that takes practice though, man, and that's something I learned from my mom because she was on a fixed income. She didn't have the ability to just make payments and just throw it out there. Instead, she had to plan. So what I did is I just took it to another level where every time I get paid, I know exactly what's coming out of my account and going into paying in bills or savings or whatever the case is.
Mhm.
And it's every other week. It's not every single month. And so to credit card companies, they see a few payments coming in every single month and they get happy. And when they're happy, they're sending all type of invitations and all this other crap, right?
Yeah.
Because they want you again to get in debt so that you can, be in debt to them. And you know, it's like it's a never ending cycle unless you get a
And,
handle on
and
it.
that's
And
the way to build up to do the Robert Kiyosaki. Build
yeah,
up and you keep expanding your limit, and then you can see what you can get out cash. And because I even thought about, I was like, okay, I probably couldn't do it, you know, with buying a foreclosure for 15,000, and you know what I mean. Like you want to, because they always tell you the fun part, right? We'll get a foreclosure for 15,000, fix it up. Well, where my fix up money coming from? You know
right,
what I mean? Like
right,
so, like you need a little bit of nest egg, I guess, to like because you might have to do something to the property to spruce it up. You know what I mean? You might need some windows, paint, porch might need fixed, whatever, and then you sell it for a profit. But I was thinking about used cars though. Like I knew this dude in my complex I lived in. He didn't have a car. He would go to the auction, buy a car, maybe put a little work in it, sell it for a profit, go buy another one, and that's how he was making money. So I was like, well,
that's
damn, if I can get a dealer's license, which is inexpensive, go to the auction, buy a $600 joint. And I'm saying doing this off the credit card money, right? Like get
right.
the
Yep.
credit card money, go buy maybe one or two cars, get them detailed, get them cleaned up, run them. I know a mechanic. He ain't really messing with me like that, and I don't know why. I'm an old head, but take it to a mechanic, get it figured out. I paid 600. Now I could sell it for 3,500. You know what I'm
Boom.
saying? Like depending on what it is, mileage, all of that work. You get two cars for 1,200, sell them both for 35. That's seven. Pay the 12 back to your credit card. Now you jumping. You know what I'm
Boom.
saying? But like you said, all of it is discipline, and you got to have a governor, man.
You
You
gotta
know
have
what
a
I'm saying?
governor.
And I
Another
wife my
another hack
governor.
too. Another hack too is something that I've thought about and a colleague brought it to my attention is he and his wife was trying to buy a house. Um, the seller wanted a certain amount of money um, for the house because of they were having financial troubles.
Mhm.
Well, they didn't get the house because of what they were asking. Um, somehow he found out that there was some tax liens on the house. So
Uh-oh.
what he did was he went to the creditors and offered to pay a portion, pennies on the dollar, for the
Yeah.
debt. Those particular creditors was like, hell yeah, we'll do it. Why not? Because we're not getting paid. We just have this lien. It's just sitting there. They had no idea that the house was up for sale. So he ended up buying the debt for pennies on the dollar. And as soon as the person closed on the house, he got paid before the actual seller got paid, simply because the whatever you have in terms of a lien, or or someone in your house, they're getting paid before you do.
So let me
So
get this straight. He went on the back end, right? On that house, found out it had a lien. He put money on that. When the seller did sell it, even though they didn't buy it, he sold it to someone else. He got paid off. See, that's
yeah,
the money game.
that's a money game.
That's the
That
game. Listen, that's the game they don't, bro. We in the information age, bro. That's the game they don't be spilling. And this be the game that these guys be running. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? That's ill.
Yep. And
Wow.
so what I did is I wanted to take it a step further. So I started looking at homes out here,
Yeah.
right? That are for sale, and then just looking up, oh yeah, this is a house in Frisco. This is a short sale. Why is it a short sale? Let me see if there's any kind of liens. Well, all that stuff is public property. I
Yep.
mean,
Public knowledge. Yep.
public knowledge. If you have the address, you know where to get it from, so you can tell who has a lien on the
Yep.
property. And sure enough, I saw one and I was like, oh damn, there's a lien. Look, and it has a creditor who the person is.
You know
So
something? Not to cut your wisdom, but I remember looking in the paper and you would see public notices in the back. And I never knew what that was about. Like I would look at
yeah,
it, just looking
yeah,
at it. But that's what you're talking about is what those public notices is for. And it
right.
be people scouring those joints. Yeah.
Yeah, because they know, especially. I mean, I wouldn't just want to go into the debt collector type business, but another revenue stream is that's definitely something I'm considering, and it's only on houses that are currently for sale. That's not a hot house that's going to sell in a couple months. I need something
Mhm.
that's going to take 4 or 5 months so that I can make an offer on the debt, make sure that the debt's transferred over, and then as soon as it sells, then I can get paid again, pennies on the dollar for whatever. Again, these creditors, they will take damn near anything for something that has not moved or they've not gotten traction on in 4 or 5 years. If you tell them, oh yeah, this $10,000, I give you 2,000, they'll take it.
Yeah.
And that's an $8,000 profit if and when that house sells.
Wow. Like when you take your used car that's beat up to the they ain't putting that on the lot. They sending that joint to the auction and getting whatever they can because they didn't got you in the new joint.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Oh man.
So
Wow.
so look, um, Marcus, you think you would you be willing to come back and do a another show?
Oh yeah, man. Anytime, man. I enjoyed it. This was fantastic.
Yeah. I liked it too, man. I really enjoyed your information and your wisdom. Most definitely.
Yeah, bro, you dropped some jewels here. You
Man,
wow.
it's funny, man. I got so much other stuff that I can't even think of. It's just rambling just off the top of my head of things that I've found out that others have used, that I've used, and methods that actually work in terms of generating revenue. Next time, I'll definitely have some talking points and some notes and some books. I had a huge bookcase, man, full of books, and I'm like looking over there, like, what book can I recommend? And I see a ton of them over there. So, yeah, next time I'll definitely have you a lot more
Yeah, next
prepared
time
for you
we'll let
guys.
you lead. We'll let you just go right in, and then we can ask you some questions as you're going in. Because we like real time anyway. So, you know, things will be popping in our mind. You'd be like, hey, hold on once. Because I like to, since we started this podcast, I wasn't like I said before here, I'm not I wasn't a great note taker, but I'm stepping my note game up. Like as people talking, I'm writing down a question over here and just getting some a question ready. So yeah, next time you come on, man, we'll let you take the lead, and follow your lead, bro. Because I think this money, I was telling Jamal earlier, we for whatever reason, man, we retail, this is the game,
Right.
and the information is so readily available. People can get it that's nefarious, and that's also trying to do something right. You know what I mean?
Right.
And for those
Right.
who nefarious that are getting the information, they gonna bilk you, and you got to be careful. But if we can, because we love solutions, and if we can, bring some information forward where people can, okay, for those who have the wherewithal to be able to invest and do some different things, and then hopefully those that do that can touch a family member or two, and or maybe do, because when you were saying something about investing, I was thinking about the pool, and it's like, if you cannot, because even for those that don't have much, you kind of do spend somewhere else, and if you can maybe for a week pocket that money in a different area, right? Maybe you buy some snacks or something from a store, because when you get a pool of, if you get 100 people that doesn't have money like that, but they can put $5-10 together, that's a couple shares in the stock that y'all own as a group.
Right.
But now you just got to get the right person to manage it for you. You know what I mean? That will be another. That's what I was trying to get at earlier in that conversation. Like if you get what you were saying, how you get people involved. If you could put just a little something together, but you get 100 people together that might not have that wherewithal, but they can put $10. Now that's $100 or whatever and then you take that and invest it in the pool, and then let them see some recourse from that. I think, because another thing too is with this money game, you got to be on your study. You know what I'm saying? So if you got children or your life situation a little crazy, but then you got somebody over here that you can trust, that your money's in the pool, and what you can do with that is with Zoom, and we're in the information age, you can get calls, and mostly everybody got a phone. You could do a group chat with somebody with what giving them information on what their money doing, and also say if you do this in a city, say for instance, if you do it in where you live at with some people that are low income, right? You could say, okay, every month when the what is it called when your thing come from your 401k, it may come like quarterly or whatever, but whenever it comes,
your statements,
your statement, when your statement come in, that's when y'all do your group meeting, right? You get everybody that's invested, you bring them to the table, you say, okay, here's the statement, this is what the money's doing, right? You put this in, you put that in, you put that in, and this is what your money has grown to this point. You know what I'm saying? And then that way it's like, okay, I got something in the game. And then if you could do a little something every month to add to it, before you know it, it's going to take a little while because it's little money. But you got to remember that $1,000, $2,000 is being invested through your broker, which in 6 months, that might be $6,000 now, depending on what's going on with the market, depending on how you have them investing it either low or high yield. And then they'll start seeing like my $10, my $20 a month, my $10 a month, $20 a month has ballooned to this. You know what I'm saying?
That'll make you want to invest more, and that'll make you want to give more, because now you have the trust built and the understanding, like, oh yeah, this can work for me. This can work for my family.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. But yeah, man, this is a great build.
Yeah, indeed. Well, like I told y'all,
you at your threshold.
I have hit my time limit for the evening. About ready to go and lay it down, but I want to sincerely thank you, Marcus, for donating your time this evening and dropping the jewels. the chat is really been soaking up the game. And I want to thank everybody in the chat as well for rocking with us and commenting. And I don't know if you can see it now, Marcus, but they've been active. But
oh yeah, I was just actually taking a look at it. Oh yeah, it's awesome.
So yeah, man, we're gonna be in touch and see if we can, when you can come back on and we do a part 2 and just go in, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it anytime, man. When you told me you had the podcast, I was excited. It's like, oh yeah, I love to come on and top it up with you guys. So man, this was a treat for me, man, and it was awesome to be with you guys.
No
Thank
doubt,
you for your wisdom, good brother. Thank you for your wisdom.
for sure. Dap, you got anything before we close?
Did you want to tap into the Think Music or hold that till next week?
Well,
We can hold that.
What's that?
I said we can hold that.
Okay. Yeah, we'll circle back on that next week then.
All right.
So once again, we appreciate all y'all tuning in. Hope you were edified by the game that was dropped. And we'll be back next week with some more stimulating, interesting conversation. Till then,
Awesome,
I'm going to
man.
say peace.
Deuces, yep.
Peace.
Awesome, man. Nice to meet you, Dap.
Nice
All right,
to meet
Jamal,
you
you guys
also,
have a
Marcus.
good one, man.
You
No
also.
doubt. You as well, brother.